Mark Williams has called out the Lakers following the Lakers nixing the trade. It's been silent on the front of Mark Williams until today, just hours before tip-off between the two sides. Mark Williams has come out and not only called out the Lakers front office, their management, but he revealed the truth behind why the Lakers nixed the trade. And these details are very interesting. We'll break that down as well as discuss a couple of big injury updates hours before tip-off surrounding LeBron James and some interesting comments from Paul George on his podcast as it pertains to this trade as well. Stay tuned for all that in this episode, but before we get into it, if you're part of the 89% who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Lakers content. If you're enjoying the multiple uploads a day, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and thank you guys again for your continued support. Now, this one is super interesting because we obviously know, well, of course, it's ironic, the first game out of the All-Star break, the Los Angeles Lakers are playing the Charlotte Hornets, which Mark Williams, the center they acquired in theory, is playing for the Hornets, and he broke the silence for the first time surrounding his health, surrounding what the trade, what happened with the trade, how the physical went. It's a little bit interesting here. So let's start with this. There's a bunch of different things to go over. Again, you saw a little bit of a tidbit there surrounding LeBron. We have an update on that later. I want to start on the Mark Williams front. Mark Williams on the rescinded trade to the Lakers. I didn't think I had failed my physical. That didn't even cross my mind. The night I got traded, I played a lot of minutes. I didn't think in any world that was possible. Since I've been back at the start of the year, I've played games with a lot of minutes. I feel like every injury I've had has been well documented and I've recovered and have been 100% since. So I don't know what went into that decision. I think that's up to them. And this one is extremely interesting because he basically says that he is not only 100% healthy, but that he doesn't feel like he failed the physical at all, that everything was good on that front. And it really starts to make you think a little bit as a, I guess, Lakers fan. And I think, and we'll dive into a couple tweets here. And I mean, Paul George also had a comment on it, but as it pertains to this specifically, it is interesting. Now, he has been injury riddled his entire, career, especially over the past couple seasons. He's been really battling with a lot of injuries, and that has affected, of course, Rob Pelinka's evaluation of the physical. Maybe he's a lot more, the Lakers that are, a lot more strict with the physicals because of this, but the fact that he says that he's 100% and that everything was well documented. If you think back to when the trade was nixed, there was reports coming out that the Lakers did their due diligence before with both, I believe it was UCLA doctors and the Lakers doctors, and they both said regarding the documentation prior to the actual physical that everything looked good and checked out. That's what Mark Williams says here. And then he says he's been 100% since, and he doesn't know what went into that decision. And again, since he's been back at the start of the year, I've played games with a lot of minutes. So this had Lakers fans a little bit up in arms, I will say, to a degree. Brian Windhorst comes out and follows this up with saying he must feel pretty rejected. Got all the way to LA, went through the physicals, they examined him, and then said, nope, get on the plane, go back home. He's got something to say. If you're Mark Williams, your reputation is on the line. So obviously, if you're Mark Williams, you're not going to say, that you're hurt or anything like that. You're probably going to give an answer similar to this, but he could have also just hedged his bets and, used the media trading answer and just said, it was up to them. It is what it is. I'm, focused on being in Charlotte. He actually went out and went a lot more in depth with this specific, comment. And it has brought the question up now, and I'm curious to see what you guys think down below. Do you think, Rob Pelinka got cold feet when it comes to the actual trade that they made? And do you think he thought, okay, we gave up way too much. We're, hesitant because of his injury past, all these different things. You can see this here. There's, this tweet kind of, blew up a little bit. Or not this tweet didn't blow up, but the conversation about this blew up. I wanted him so bad. Rob just realized he overpaid and knew he had an easy out. And that's the big question, is whether or not the physical was actually failed. We know the Hornets after came out and were going to protest it, decided against it. And if this was the actual case, then obviously, in theory, I guess Charlotte would have a reason to protest. But either way, it's very interesting to hear that there is a possibility, I guess, where Rob Pelinka was like, okay, we actually gave up too much. We would much prefer making a trade in the offseason for a guy like Nick Claxton, a guy like Miles Turner, and a sign and trade, all these different available options. Let me know down below if you think they were just very strict with his physical, and because of his past health concerns, they didn't want to make a deal, or if you think it's a bigger picture here is that they had cold feet. They decided to keep their assets because, yes, maybe his physical, he would have passed it most of the time, but because of his history of being injured in the past, they were extremely strict and wanted to play it super safe, and they had a bit of buyer's remorse about his potential health concerns. Let me know down below. I find it hard to believe that they just had buyer's remorse and just did that simply because they knew about most of this coming in. They knew there was going to be a risk. And Luka Doncic was one of the ones who wanted Mark Williams. He was the one who went out of his way and said they wanted Williams. So to go out and do that and then come back and nix the trade and something that rarely happens in the NBA would be a very interesting hill to die on here. And Paul George went on a podcast and said, thank God that Mark Williams stuff didn't go through. He knows, as does everyone, once LA gets an elite big, say goodnight, there's nothing you can do to stop us. That big will give us enough defense with a historically unstoppable offense. And it's interesting that Paul George said, he basically said he's very happy that Mark Williams trade didn't go through because that would have been brutal for every other team because they actually had a legit center. And I think there is definitely something to be said there. If they got Mark Williams, he would have been fantastic. The question is, I think if you give the Lakers any very solid center, they will be a very, very solid team. And I think if you're giving up the assets that the Lakers did in the form of a first-round pick in Dalton Knecht, an actual first-round pick in 2031 unprotected, and then a 2030 pick swap, you may want a guy, and maybe that internal conversations that unless his physical is crystal clear and we're 100% positive that he is going to be able to be our center of the future, maybe you'd be better off in getting someone who's not historically injured, like Nick Claxton, who's played almost every game since he joined the NBA, right? So there's a lot of different avenues to go about this. I think my assumption is that it's somewhere in the middle. I think both the Lakers thought that Mark Williams' physical would be better, but it wasn't. There was a couple of different things. I also believe Mark Williams to a degree where he probably was fairly healthy, but for the Lakers, in order to pass this, because of the assets they give up, they would have to go all the way in and have a 100% cleared physical. And that's basically what Paul George said. And you see here, they won't have an elite defense, the Lakers that is, but they have a good enough defense, just like Denver did when they won. And that's now the question mark, is how this team is going to perform once they get a center. But at the end of the day, Mark Williams was, he was upset. He was not a happy camper with the Lakers' physical process. I think, again, it's somewhere in the middle. The Lakers they saw something they didn't like, or they just got a little bit concerned about his health concerns and saw, a little bit there that would justify it enough, because I don't think you need a huge justification in order to nix a physical if you aren't happy with how it's going to go. And now we're stuck with Jackson Hayes. Not that he's been horrible, but we're stuck with the Jackson Hayes-Alex Len duo for now, unless they go out and get a guy like Mo Bamba, a guy like Bismack Biyombo, which we'll have videos covering in the future here. Let me know down below specifically what your thoughts are on this. It's pretty rare you hear. It's very rare that you have a Knicks trade in general, but now we've heard from Dalton Knecht's side, and we finally heard from the guy who actually got Knicks in the trade as well, which is super intriguing. So it's one of the crazier situations. It was one of the crazier trade deadlines. One other thing here as well, that this just dropped minutes ago, there's optimism that LeBron James does play tonight versus Charlotte. So I made the video earlier, there was skepticism that he wasn't going to play either game from Shams, and now they're saying there's optimism that he will play tonight alongside Luka Doncic, and it's going to be interesting. You can see here again, is it going to be a game time decision? He was questionable. If LeBron is healthy, everybody is healthy, everyone is good to go aside from Maxi Kleber now, and you'll have a fully healthy lineup for the first time in a while, including Dorian Finney-Smith, including Gabe Vincent. And then if LeBron can come in, it will be very exciting because, again, we're back to basketball now, and Luka Doncic will be continuing to play for the Lakers for hopefully the rest of his career. But we'll have a video following the game tonight, so make sure you tune into that video. And also, one final thing, I saw this interesting tweet. Leave down below your top 5 teams in the NBA as of now. This one has the Lakers at 5, and I'm saying it's currently constructed. Where do you think the Lakers rank out of a lot of these teams, given their current lineup and their current center lack of depth? Let me know. Thank you guys for watching. See you later.